Hey everyone, it's Matthew the Body Chemist Mueller reporting to you live from the center of the Volume Photography Universe, Minneapolis, Minnesota. I'm excited to be here to host my second ever Tech Tuesday. And kind of the goal of these webinars, these things is I want to share with you guys some of the technology and things that we're actually using in our business that are making a difference. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm a second generation photographer based just outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we have been on a rapid growth rate since like right before the pandemic. We hit our first public school contract March 1st, 2020. And since then, we've taken on 12 districts. We're working with some of the largest districts in the state of Minnesota. Our staff has kind of grown from this, like with this really cool, small mom and pop family photography studio pre-pandemic. It was like me and two other employees. And it was this really cool place to work. And there was this great energy that kind of existed because it was like me and this woman and this guy, and everybody was trained in on how to do everything. And there was this amazing energy and kind of informal communication style that we could have because like everyone knew how to do every step of the process. And so it was just a lot of like verbal communication. Hey, where are we at on this? Hey, how are deadlines coming on for this? And as we've been growing, that has to change. Like literally, March 1st, 2020, we didn't have departments. We didn't even have that. So growing and developing our business, it's kind of brought in this necessity for us to have a more formal process for project management. Now, over the years, we've tried a couple of different things, and some of them have worked okay. Some of them have been a disaster. In most cases, though, it was because we didn't implement them correctly. So today I want to talk to you guys about how we're monitoring our projects now and how we're making sure we're getting all the steps done for any given job and getting them out on time to the people that need it. And the software that we've turned to is Monday.com. Now, we've also used Asana. I know Mike Norkin, shout out Mike, uses Asana. It's great. I know there's another one called Trello. Trello is cool. We tried it before. It's very, very simple. But from an overall project management standpoint and then integration with the other software that we use, we have found Monday to be our best option. Sorry, I just got really distracted because I think that it looks like we have a conquest map for SPAC right here, as opposed to just Minneapolis, Minnesota, where we're trying to go. But yeah, that's not SPAC's not trying to take over. So we use Monday. How we got turned on to Monday was we went through and hired a guy, startup almost a year ago, and he had come in from actually working at youth camps. And part of the jobs, one of the things that he brought into us was like he had a really good presence and understanding of seasonal hires, had a really good ability to work with our training materials, making sure our communication was clear to employees. And he's really helped shift our onboarding process to be more seamless. And one of the areas that he works in, he's our client success manager, specifically with sports. But one of the things that he wanted to help clean up was just making sure that all of the boxes were getting checked. And we're trying to get pushed away from kind of that tribal knowledge that exists, that thing that you know how to do because you're the only person who knows how to do that, or that's how we do it because that's the way we've done it for 100 years. We're trying to get away from that. And this has been a critical tool to help us kind of achieve those goals. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate it. I know if you are like in Minnesota right now, it's one of the first nice days we have. I got the top off on the Jeep. So thanks again for tuning in. And I'm going to walk you guys through all the things we're using this software for. So, all right. So one of the things that's kind of unique about our studio compared to a lot of other photography businesses that I've seen, specifically people around SPAC or SPO and other schools, is like I know a bunch of businesses that are really, really big in schools and a bunch of businesses that are really, really big in sports. And maybe the ones that are really big in sports have a little bit of a school presence and vice versa. You have someone who's really big in schools and a little sports presence. We're actually about 50-50, which is kind of unique. We're running over $1 million business in both lines, which I think is uncommon because I think a lot of people, like I said, kind of have this weird shift. And one of the things that we're trying to make sure that we do as we're growing our business is making sure that we're keeping, even though we have kind of two parallel businesses that are running, there's a lot of overlap and we have one production department. So we got to make sure that we have a system in place so that our schoolwork and our sports work is being handled correctly and hitting the timelines we need to, as well as meeting the needs of our clients and customers. So Monday software, it's great. You guys should go check it out. There's 100 demos online. You should go watch the videos. We chose it, like I mentioned, because of the integration process and the automations. The automations have been huge for us. And when Dylan came on, one of the things that I was really impressed with, I feel like I'm making this like a Dylan hype video, which I'm not, I promise. But one of the things I was really impressed with Dylan coming on to help us with this was his ability and his foresight to be able to be like, we need to get all of the steps in this process buttoned down. We had to make sure we knew all of the things for each sports league, whether it's do they get banners? Is it a high school one and they need their images faster for a program? Is it virtual teams? Like these are all kind of little variables that would happen, variations within a sports job that wouldn't exist really with our schools, because our schools are kind of handled the way our schools are handled. So when he started building out Monday for us to use, he did a really, really great job at making sure that we documented all the critical steps, that we kind of had a good wireframe for that. We're going to go over that in a little bit, but making sure that we implemented it correctly was huge. And so shout out to Dylan, who did not want to go through us shopping any other solutions after we started using this one, because it is a bit time consuming to set up. But the more work you put into it and the more effort you put into it, the more it's going to come back in time savings and making sure that everything is kind of sorted out the way it should be. So one of the key features, implementations that you need to know is the project management. It starts with like your main board. Okay. We have workspaces, and our workspaces are very different. I'm going to bring on a screen share and kind of show you guys how it works with us. We have, like I told you guys, we have these two parallel businesses. We have schools and we have sports, and each obviously has a different workflow, different timelines, and different needs. And so us being able to initially start off with this clearly defined workspace, it allows us to have a better perspective on how our work is going and making sure that things are getting done right. We've even built a board for our yearbooks. Yearbooks have become a huge part of our business this year, much more than we honestly expected it to. So keeping track of our yearbooks and making sure that things are getting out is huge. The board is basically like the workspace is the general where we're starting. Boards are your foundation of project management. Okay. Each board represents a different project or workflow. So we have our workspace and we have our boards. And each of those, we can have different columns for different stages within a given job. It allows us to add tasks, assign team members, and even set deadlines. So that's huge. Like for us, being able to go in and say, we have a digital production department. We have a lot of different people that are here, and our studio was. For those of you who haven't seen any of my Facebook Lives before, it's kind of an important part of the story. Our studio is a strip mall. It's basically 5 storefronts. And we have the 2 on the right side and we have the 2 on the left side. And there's one person who rents in the middle. So there's actually this weird, it's not great, but we have this physical divide. And so one of the big reasons that we started looking at the project management system was not just to make sure that we were keeping up on our stuff, but was also to make sure it was easier for us to communicate with the other portion of the business, that it's like there's a physical wall between us. And so it allowed, when our photographers come in, the full-time guys, and they're getting their full-time hours, they now are able to come in and see kind of where they're working at and all that. And without good project management software, we weren't able to assign these tasks. So literally every step in our process, from like we get a job, we load it into Monday, we are setting the time, the location. Well, that's actually set through Outlook, but we'll show you that later. But we're assigning, Dylan is getting the roster information. Have we gotten it? Did we get it on time? Has the roster information been turned into QR codes? Have the QR codes been printed and given to the photographers? It then will kind of notify at each point in the workflow. As soon as that has been completed, it automatically kicks it over to the next step in the process, as well as notifies the next person and key employees along the route. It's a really dope setup when you get in there. But then one more step down from boards is our groups. And groups help you categorize and organize your boards in a much easier way. It allows us to assign individual tasks within the group and gives you a hierarchy structure that you don't find in the boards. And it allows us an easier way to break down a big job into more manageable parts. And again, a lot of this work also comes from the foundation of like, we put in all these steps and all these things before we started working with this, or before we started implementing the software into our day-to-day operations. One of the other things that's kind of important as our company's growing, we used to just kind of have, like I said, it was like 2 or 3 people that worked here, and it's grown to, we're running a full-time staff of 30. One of the things that's interesting with this software is it allows us to have multiple views. So we're allowed to have different employees have different access to things. So we use Monday to store all of our client information. It has every job that we work with. It has every school administrator, every secretary, every phone number, every email address. It has every sports login. It has all that information. Not every client, not every employee here needs to have access to all the information for all of our clients. So we are able to pull back and kind of restrict some of the access points and the knowledge that they're able to get from our from the software. And the last thing that's kind of nice is Monday allows us, we are fully integrated with Microsoft Teams and Outlook, and Monday integrates well with that. I'm going to show you guys that in a second. But this software also allows us a great section to go in and comment and attach things and talk to people about like, hey, I want to make sure that this is, do we have a good schedule for this? Or, hey, who is my contact when I arrive at my shoot? Or this job, something unique happened and we need to, like we do not add kids to team photos unless it's some extenuating circumstance. These are all, this software allows us an amazing place for us to add that information in and then also tag the employee who may need to know that so that we're able to make sure that we aren't missing it in the end. It allows our communication to be much more fluid and straightforward throughout the entire process. One of the other things that's huge about this section for us is the activity log. So we work with a lot of leagues and schools. We work with a lot of leagues for a long time. One of the things that we got when we acquired this company, SportsStar, was something that they call Photos Over Time. So Photos Over Time is we archive and create a composite of every year a kid played hockey. And it's a sweet give back, and it allows us to kind of be unique to our customers because we're able to offer them a product they literally can't get anywhere else for at least 5 years. And so the Photos Over Time is a huge process for us. Well, one of the ways that this activity log has kind of saved us was when we print coaches 5x7s and mail them out, it gets put in here, who did it, what day, when was it mailed out, yada, yada, yada. We had a Photos Over Time that we created for a league, and they said they didn't get it. We were able to go back to the activity log, say, yep, it was done on this day, this time, sent to this address. They tracked it down, they got it, and it was taken care of. But it gave me the knowledge to be able to explain to my customers, like, no, we didn't drop the ball on this, and it's okay, stuff happens. We'll figure it out for you. But like, we were able to give them the data. We did it. Here's when your stuff went out. Here's where it went. That's tracked down where those images are now, because it just kind of takes off that we looked like we weren't known, we weren't doing what we should have done, even though we did. And so that's a big advantage of having a sweet workflow solution in place like this. So like I mentioned, we do customize each of our employees' dashboards to their specific role and responsibility. They can see assigned tasks when they come in. We can go in and say, like, we have this dance school. This is getting assigned to Sally. Boom, we know that that's what she's working on. It allows us to say, one of the things that we've been doing too is like, we bring in, I have several photographers on staff that are full-time employees, and we just don't have 40 hours a week of shooting. Like, it just doesn't happen. So one of the ways that we supplement our photographers, make sure they have enough hours, is they come in and help with some of the entry-level digital work. One of the next Tech Tuesdays I'm going to do is going to be on Aftershoot. It's a culling software and editing software that's incredible. But we bring them in to work on Aftershoot. This allows them to come in and say, okay, what jobs haven't been culled? which jobs, where can I jump in and I can do this work without having to go back and bother an employee and take them off that task to get assigned something on a one-to-one basis. This software also allows us, it has a bunch of widgets. And one of the things, I went and I toured White House Custom Color. Shout out Mike Hanlon. Woo woo. And one of the things that I liked about when I went and checked out their place is they had dashboards that showed how much work was coming through and kind of explained to people how the company was doing. I thought it was brilliant. We've actually just I went on Amazon. I bought 55-inch TVs for like $280. We've hooked them up to computers around the studio, and we have a dashboard that's running live that tells people we have 25 shoots this week. We have 46 jobs in production. We have 14 photographer tasks. So it's 14 items that they should jump in the chronological order that they need to be worked on. We have 44 shoots this month. Okay. Tells us, gives you a little fun quote every day, gives us a breakdown on where we're at with QR data and production, and gives us an overall kind of state of where we're at with things, which is huge. And so making sure that we have all of this information readily accessible to people is massive, not just from like, I think, financial aspect of like, I hate when I have to pay someone for half an hour of work when they spend the first half hour of work trying to figure out what they need to work on, but also the morale point of view. When I get to work, I want to jump in and start doing a task. I don't want to sit around and wait for someone to get me something to do. This gives me a lot more direction in where I should be going and what I should be working on. With any of the software, any of the workflow softwares that you can be using is the automation. Setting up automation for employees, to clients, to leagues, to schools is huge. So as we go in and we set up these triggers, when a certain event happens, a triggered automated step takes place. So for example, if we release a job on Blueprint and it's gone live and we're selling badminton, it's going to email Dylan an email saying, hey, badminton just got released today, gives him a copy of an email to send to our client. And it allows us the opportunity of like, Spencer doesn't need to send him a Teams message, which may or may not be seen. He doesn't have to come over. Spencer's not also muddying the water by reaching out to the client. It allows us that division and the integrity of kind of having one person who's in contact with the customer and one person who's running their department in production. But it also just makes it super easy for us to get this out really quickly. And one of the things that I'll tell you guys, our open rate on for schools and sports, like our open rate for schools with Got Photo is crazy high. Our open rate with sports is very high with Blueprint. And one of the reasons why our open rate is so high is we have made it a point in our workflow to work hand in hand with the school and the associations so that when we release a job, they are also releasing a communication that's saying, hey, your photos went out. Making sure that parents are able to have access, like they know that it's going out, is so big and pushes people back to opening their galleries and hopefully placing an order. Mondays also, it's a super simple software to use. There's an automated app that you can use, works on Android, works on iPhone. I don't know why you would have an Android, but you could. Also works as a Mac app and PC adaptable. It's adaptable to that as well. But the mobile app is pretty big. It allows me the ability to, like, if I'm sitting at home, because I'm a loser, if I'm sitting at home and I'm having a makers and I want to double check where stuff is, I can jump on the app and see that. It allows me the ability to jump on and like, oh, we need to do this, or, oh, how is this going? Or if I get an email and I want to know where a job is and an athletic director is curious when it's getting released, this allows me the roadmap to be able to speak intelligently on this to my clients as well as my employees. Of course, the security, data encryption, all of that stuff. I mean, it bears mentioning. I feel like we all kind of expect that now, but you're going to be FERPA compliant. You're going to be okay with putting information in there. And again, just make sure that you're being smart as a business owner and not, giving all of your employees every client list, and make sure that you are being responsible in what you're allowing to be shared with everyone else. That comes back to that role-based permissions that we talked about already. When we were originally shopping, we used to be fully integrated with Gmail. So it was like Google Suite, Gmail, everything. And we made the transition to Microsoft Teams a couple of years ago. It's good. It's good. It's not great. Eventually, I'd like to be a big enough guy to be able to have my own software written, but that's going to be a while. But working with Microsoft Teams and Outlook, it was crucial for us to find something that integrated seamlessly with that. And Monday offers integration not just with Outlook and Teams, but with a whole bunch of other stuff you guys can see on the screen. So make sure, pretty much no matter what you're using, you're going to be able to pull this in. And what's cool is it works in a way that kind of like we were showing you before, when this happens, do this to this person. It's something simple enough for even me to use, which is huge for us. Oh, and then some of the examples of the integrations we have is within our business, we have, we kind of have a division still with our scheduling of photographers and then our scheduling of accounts. And so what's nice is when somebody puts a shoot on the calendar. So we have, Minnetonka water skiing is Tuesday from 10 a.m. to noon. It's going to instantly pull that into Monday with the name, how many photographers are going, the location. It kind of preloads this data in and allows us to make sure that we not only are getting the correct data in, but we also just don't forget to put it in. And also that we don't have to put it in 2 or 3 separate times when we book a new account. So it's huge. It's huge. All right. So one of the biggest questions I get when people are like, and somebody just asked me in our Facebook group the other day, they're like, how do I start? How do I use Monday? How do I start working through this process? And to be honest with you, it's going to be a big, heavy lift to start it. Do the work now, and it's going to make it much easier in the long run. You do the work now, and you're going to see all the rewards and the benefits much sooner and at a much higher rate. So one of the ways that we've done it, it's like you have to make a roadmap. You have to map out the tasks that you're working on. Years and years ago, I had a mentor, Kirk Vauclain, crazy Cajun from down in Houma, Louisiana. And when I was photographing high school seniors, this man's workflow was as close to perfect as I've ever seen. And that's not a word I use lightly. Like, it was perfect. Like, if you give me $10,000 to speed it up, I don't know I could have. And one of the ways I talked to Kirk about his workflow and how did he hone it in and how did it get so great was he's like, I sat down with a pencil and paper and I wrote out every step in our process. And he goes, so I wrote out, download memory, take memory card out of camera, download memory card, import images into Lightroom. Like, you write down all these steps and you're going to feel kind of dumb and annoyed when you're doing it the first time, but it's going to show you all the steps that are necessary in your workflow, and B, you're going to be able to see some deficiencies, some things that you can cut out or speed up. But once you have an actual visualization of all of the steps that are going to take place, and like we kind of mentioned earlier, it's a daunting task. It's worse for sports than it is for schools, because it's like, okay, is it a high school sport or a league sport? Because that's going to impact how quickly they need things to make sure they get their images for their senior banners and make sure that they get their images for their program. Do they get photos over time or not? Is it inside and we are doing background knockouts and putting it on an environmental photo, or is it actually taking pictures outside? Are we doing real teams or are we doing virtual teams? Like, all of these steps and just that, it's kind of this choose your own adventure. So it's like, if we do this, then this changes in our workflow. And if we do that, then this changes in our workflow. You got to sit down and write it all out. The other thing that I would make sure that you do is, as you're working through this process, turn to your team and talk to other people. And I don't care if it's a team of 30 or if it's a team of 3. Sit down and talk with the people you're working with and say, what else are we missing? What else are we missing? Make sure it's complete. After you've done that, after you have your roadmap built out, you're going to want to take time to make sure that you're clearly defining the roles and responsibilities of each step within this process, so that I know that it is Dylan's job to get data for QR codes and make the QR codes. I know I never have to touch that, but I know that the next step of printing the QR codes and getting them to the photographers is my job. So I need to know when he gets the data and imports it into Blueprint. So I can take a step back and just wait for that automated message to come through that this job has been done, and I can move on to my step. And then also pay attention to priorities and deadlines. I mean, there's certain jobs that we work on that we need to get out faster. And we know that. There's jobs that we take on a deadline and we know that it has to get done maybe faster than we would have preferred. But if we take on a job, we're going to make sure we hit that deadline, which means that we need to set that as a priority over other jobs. And if things are getting pushed back and they're about to miss their deadline, or maybe we have a trigger set up where it's like this job's supposed to go live in 5 days. And if it's not at this point in the workflow 5 days out, then we need to notify the direct report or the person's supervisor, because it might be something that we just need to throw some more resources at, bring in some other people and help out and get them the help that they need, make sure that we hit those deadlines. Because the worst freaking thing in the world, especially if you are the supervisor, the manager, the owner, is finding out you blew a deadline and you didn't know that you were even late. You didn't know that it was coming. And so this allows us to be able to monitor our jobs and make sure that we are hitting the deadlines and the things that we need to, without also being micromanagers, without calling people in to go over it every single day and hovering over their shoulders. Customize your workflow through this as well. Make sure that you're not adding in unnecessary steps, and make sure that you are really doing it in the way that makes sense for you. Like I said, involve your team. And I probably, especially as you're starting, I would involve my team in it, and I would go through it with them regularly. It's going to take a while for you to get it honed in perfect, but once it's honed in perfect, it's going to be amazing. There we go. And then once you kind of get your wireframe built up, and there's like, you kind of are in the process of things are working, and we have our roadmap built out, and we're trying to get this done. There are certain kind of board templates that you can start with and allow you to start the process faster. But again, make sure that even if you're starting off with a template, do not be afraid to customize, tweak, and enhance this template so that it works better for you. All right, so we are going to show you guys some real world examples of how we use this. I told you guys we have grown faster than we expected in yearbooks. We're doing a ton of elementary and middle school yearbooks, and that has historically not been something we focused on a lot, and it's been growing a lot for us, which is great. And we needed a better process for it. So Jessica's the woman who runs our schools department. She releases a form to all of our clients. They fill out the form saying they want a yearbook. It automatically kicks it into this process. So it says this elementary school says they want a yearbook. As soon as we get that in there, the next automated step is that it goes and it'll send over the yearbook agreement. And so they have to sign. We have an e-sign document that just basically says, like, here's what you're buying, here's the rate, here's the process. We offer two softwares. We use currently we're using Studio Source yearbooks, but they're able to pick the software that they want. Most of our clients are going with Plick Books. Most of our clients go with a 40-page book, although some of them have gotten very expensive. I think we had our first 80-pager for an elementary school, which was crazy. It'll also denote the cover type, if they're going to use one type or two types. We have an option for them to donate a book for a student in need, which is huge. Some of the schools actually don't want you to do that, which is interesting, but it's true. Otherwise, we have parents who feel inclined to buy a book for a child in need. If that does happen, we just give it to the school. It is their obligation to figure out who it goes to, whether or not they want us to market their emails. Some schools only want to do in-person sales on it. They want to write us a check, and then it kicks into the actual deadlines for us. So yearbook creation and sales deadline, final quantities deadline. When do they need to be delivered to us? Because we go through, sort, organize, and redeliver. I have had for various years from various vendors, we've had some issues, and I have a little PTSD. So I like to see all of my yearbooks before they go to my schools. I just want to make sure that they look good. And I would not advise blindly shipping to your schools, because it allows you an opportunity to see your work, make sure that it looks nice and that you're happy with it before it goes to the customer. And God forbid something silly happens and there's an issue, it lets you get ahead of it before the client even knows there's a problem. So we highly recommend doing that. And then last day of school sales, and walks them through it. It's a huge thing for us, having this set up and making sure that all of these steps are automated throughout this process. So it'll remind the client, it'll remind our internal departments who needs to work on it and what things need to happen. Also gives us an opportunity to have all the contact information, who's working on the yearbook, do they have what they need? If we have interdepartment communication going on, it allows us a place to put in all of our communications to each other. It's huge. So it's one of the ways we're using this software for our yearbooks, and then I can show you guys how we use it for our sports as well. Oh, actually, is there one more way that we can go in? Yeah. So this is another view process for our yearbook stuff. So I'll actually show as we go through and move books to the next step in the process, it actually will kick it down the software, and then we'll email out an automated notice to whoever needs to know, and helps us keep organized and on track with this. Okay. And then once it's done, you get confetti. Yay. And then as far as our sports work goes, one of the ways that how are we using it for that? It'll go in, it'll tell you, like, we have a soccer shoot. Okay. It's this day, this time, this is the field that we're at. It's scheduled. We have not received data. So once we get the data, we can go in and move this to data is in Blueprint, data is received. And all of this stuff keeps updating that TV dashboard. Again, lets us know that QRs are printed, confetti, yay, we're done, jazz hands. But all of this stuff creates, I think the key to success in a lot of things is removing friction from communication. Like, it should be easy to spend money with me. It should be easy to work here and understand where things need to be. It should be easy to figure out where a job is in our process. It should be easy to figure out who we need to contact at this organization. And before we had this software, there was friction that took place in that. And Josh has been in this industry for a long time. I've been in this industry for a long time. And one of the things I hated is, like, people would go and communicate with an accountant. They'd say, oh, we don't do that. And I'd be like, oh, actually, we do that for that one thing. Or, oh, we do have this weird situation with this. Or, I don't know where that job is. Let me try to figure out who I need to talk to figure out where it is. It's embarrassing. And it's not a level of professionalism that I want to convey to my customers. And then more importantly, it leads to kind of angst and instability within your organization. Going through and having these set up in this way and taking the time to do it right is really going to make it easier for people to work for you. It's going to make it easier for you to be successful with your customers, and it's going to make it kind of a one-stop shop for you to have critical data that I couldn't find a way to do pre this software. Hold on just one second there. So as we keep going through this software, I was unable to do this class live, but I promise you guys I will check all the comments and make sure that I respond to any questions or comments that you guys have. If you want to talk about more of the real world stuff that we're doing and the things that how we've implemented it into our workflow, I'm happy to do that. Just make sure you tag me in the comment. Otherwise, I might not see it. And then we've kind of touched on this, but I just want to touch on it one more time. Like, visualize your workflow, step through the entire process. Don't skip any steps. Write out every painfully small detail and every variation that may exist. Build this out. You can start off with a template, but make sure you customize, tweak, and enhance it to work for your workflow. Do not take the easy way out. Make sure that you understand the timelines and delegated responsibilities, who's doing what within your organization, where it goes, and make sure you're setting up your automated status updates, triggers, and your deadline reminders. Lastly, the last thing we're going to talk about, which is something that I'm talking about lastly because we don't really use it yet, but I'm super excited to, is Kemet Mueller Photography is growing at a pretty healthy rate over the last few years, and we really don't have a sales team. like that is changing, and we are going to get aggressive about sales, but all of our growth really honestly is pretty organic, and or falls on my shoulders. And so there is a CRM function in this that is used to manage leads, have a sales pipeline, and make it easier for us to reach out and go after additional sports leagues and new schools. And so the CRM is looking really, really promising, but I don't want to tell you guys like all the details on it because we don't use it yet. But expect an update on that soon. And then remember, there's other options. I'm not sponsored by Monday. I'm just telling you guys what we use and why we use it. Asana, Trello, whatever you want. Have something in place, though. Have something in place to help you run your business and make sure that you are kind of being effective and growing in a way that allows you to not drop the ball for your clients. So thank you all. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Next month, we're going to go over artificial intelligence, culling, and editing, and it's awesome. So tune in. Thank you all so much, and I will see you next time.